Well, there we go. Such a dramatic music.
It's very dramatic.
Yeah.
How are you?
I am doing good. It's been a good morning so far, and I know it's later in the day for you. So the interesting thing is that we lived just like 90 minutes apart.
I know.
But we didn't meet until you were 4 hours away in a different time zone.
I know. It's we met after I moved 3,000 miles away.
Yeah, isn't that just the way of it?
Actually, I think it's 2,000 miles and it's like 3,500 kilometers or something. Because I'm in Canada, so it's metric here.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, so this part of the author interview series here on Amazon Live, and we're going to talk about Start Saying Yes and a couple of other books that you've written that are also available. There it is, Start Saying Yes. And but first of all, let's go ahead and have you introduce yourself. Who are you? What's going on in your world? And how can people get a hold of you? And then we'll repeat that later on as well.
I'm super easy to get a hold of on the internet. You can type Matt Rouse or Hook SEO, my company name, into anything on the internet, and you will find me, which is also one of the advantages of having an SEO company. For people who may not know, SEO is search engine optimization. That is a way to get your information on the internet to show up higher in searches for related topics and queries. And so I'm also the host of the Digital Marketing Masters podcast, the Motivational Success podcast, soon to be one of the 3 hosts with yourself on the upcoming Business Builder Throwdown podcast that will be out shortly. And also, you and myself and Holly Jean Jackson are the hosts of the Business Builder Throwdown live show, where we battle over business growth tactics every Thursday live. And you can find that on YouTube as well. And I run a marketing agency with my business partner, Scott Burson. And we do that. We have clients in New Zealand, the UK, Canada, and the United States, and Costa Rica. So we're all over the place, and I'm a busy individual right now.
Yeah, man, it's amazing how much you get done. I think there's something, you must have more than 24 hours there in Nova Scotia.
We have metric time.
Metric time.
We get 100 hours a day.
Oh my gosh.
It's only the really short.
Yeah, very short days. Yeah. Well, welcome. And this is we're here in this little interview lounge, just kind of a cheesy little look background here, but
I like it. And you know what? Our interview on Digital Marketing Masters about what Amazon Live Video came out yesterday.
Well, awesome. So you can find that podcast right here on Amazon too. Although I don't have it in the carousel. I did highlight one of the 3 books that we have for Matt, and the one that I read most recently, which is Start Saying Yes. And one of the things that I've promised to people is that they will actually be able to learn what the popsicle hotline is, but we won't talk about that right now.
That's right. You gotta watch all the way to the end to find out the secret of the popsicle hotline.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. It's yeah, there's always more out there. But the popsicle hotline though is a lot of fun. But what's this whole thing about saying yes? Because one of the things that we've been told is we need to start saying no. And now your book kind of ends about when it's appropriate to say no and what you're saying yes to. But what's this whole deal? Why would we want to start saying yes? What's the premise of the book, and what are people going to learn by picking up Start Saying Yes?
Right. So let me tell you an interesting story. I love storytelling, right? And who doesn't want to read a book that's got stories in it? So I was out on the Oregon coast with my wife at the time. Our daughter hadn't been born yet. So we were out. We were staying at a nice hotel. We got up in the morning. We went to our favorite coffee shop. Shout out to Insomnia Coffee, by the way. I know the owners, and they're fabulous people who make fabulous coffee. So we went to the coffee shop, and then one of the nearby stores we went to had a sign posted on the window, and it said, "No drinks, no food, no photos, no dogs," and like no to something else. I can't even remember what they all were now. And it was just like, you haven't even gone in the store yet, and they're like, no, 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 no. And anyone in sales knows the last thing that you want to do is tell people no, right? So you're immediately starting out filtering out the people who would be your clients, right? And it was like a kind of a boutique type store, right? That you get in, like tourist towns with a bunch of overpriced, craft stuff in it. So the type of person who goes to a fancy coffee shop who is on vacation, everyone, you turn your head like this, and everyone is out walking their dog holding a coffee, right? All of those people with money to spend, and the first thing they're doing is making sure that none of those people come into their store. And they're right next to a coffee shop. And you know what?
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure here's what happened, right? Somebody went in there and spilled something on a product. They had an argument, whatever it was, right? And they're like, well, we better not have people with drinks spilling stuff on our merchandise, right? So, I mean, you could just word it something like, please make sure drinks have lids, something like that, for the safety of our merchandise, whatever it is, right? Or service animals 100% welcome here, and that's saying, yes, you can bring in a service animal, and doesn't necessarily say don't bring your dog in, right? But there's just better ways to do it, right? And then you go in the store and there's little signs everywhere that say no photos. Like, what's the first thing that everyone does when they're on vacation, right? Is you have this thing in your pocket that has a camera that everyone has, and they go in the store and they hold up, they're like, pretend this is a hat, right? They're like, put the hat on, and they take the picture, right? It's the first thing that everybody does.
And they're tagging, they're doing a check-in.
That's right. What do they do with the photo? Yeah. They put it on Instagram, they put it on Facebook, they check into the store, they stick it on their Twitter.
They went to this hot spot.
Right. Nowadays, they're doing TikTok videos or whatever. Who cares? Yep. Like, how much free advertising is that worth? It's just absolutely absurd, right? So it's not just this one store. It's all stores all over, right? I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. They say no to this. You go up to the cash register. It says no checks, no out-of-country credit cards. It says no. It's just like the word no is posted all over. And then it got me thinking about how much no there is in the business world these days, right? And you almost have this world that's designed around the word no. So you may see kind of park benches that are made with a curve in them or an extra handle in the middle to say no to people sleeping on the park bench, right? Yep. Little bumps that they put on in little alcoves around buildings to stop people from sleeping there if they're homeless or something, right? or houseless, or however you like to say it. And, they put little metal brackets on stairway railings so that skateboarders can't go down them, right? And all of these things everywhere, it just add up that every single place you're going everywhere says no, 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 no. And then someone walks into your business and you're like, how come nobody's buying any of my things? Right?
Yeah.
So
It's funny because that is one of the first things that sales trainers teach people is that you want to start people on a series of saying yes. So you don't want to ever ask them a question that they would say no to, because when you get to the will you buy this product from me, you don't want them to go no shirts, no shoes, no service, right?
Right.
You want them to say yes. Matt, I love it.
There's a difference between posting something that is required by law and handwritten signs that say no on them, like no checks scribbled in Sharpie on a piece of paper poorly taped to your counter, right? In your store that's supposedly full of $3,000 artwork. Like it takes away from the ambiance. It's not a positive message. And that's just the beginning. Okay. So let me tell you another story. This is kind of interesting one too. Okay.
I love this. And just to remind everyone, we are talking with Matt Rouse. He's the author of Start Saying Yes, and we've highlighted his book there in the carousel. Please click on it and take a peek on the inside. And Matt's going to tell us. I love the book because you do have these great stories, and I can definitely relate to those. So continue.
Yeah, it's a very easy read, right? And also, it's nice big type, so people like me who have to wear glasses to read can actually read it. So anyways, so let me get back to the story. So I had some friends right after I had the book come out. I had some friends come into town, and I want to give them each copy of the book. So we all met up for lunch. I gave them each copy of the book. Waitress comes over. My daughter had been born at this point, so the book had been out for a little while. She's about 2 years old. And I asked her what she wants, to eat at the restaurant. We're at this Vietnamese kind of restaurant place. And she says, can I get some rice? And I'm like, okay, sure. So the girl comes over and she's, asking us what we want for food and or for drinks, right? And I said, oh, you know what? I'd like, get some like a juice or something, right, for my daughter. And could you bring her some rice also, right? Because then she can eat. She won't be bothering everybody else while we're waiting for our food. Sure. Pretty common practice in the restaurant world, right? She says, well, do you want brown rice or black rice? And I'm like, I'm not really sure. Could I have both? And she's like, no. And I'm like, okay, then I guess I'll get brown rice. Like, she's not like, do you want one bowl of each, or it'll be $1 extra or anything. She just straight up says no, right? Yeah. And she walks away. My other two friends are looking at me like, oh my God, I hate it when that happens because it happens so often. So I open the book, right? And I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera, but the title of chapter 1 is Servers in Oregon Always Say No.
No. Yeah. Wow.
And that actually originally, that story came from a meeting with my business partner, Scott, that we were having at a restaurant in Oregon. And my wife had asked to substitute some vegetables instead of chicken in a dish, right? It was like a chicken Alfredo or something. She's like, can I get vegetable Alfredo? Right? And the guy's like, no. And I mean, why wouldn't you do that, right? The vegetables cost less. It's easier to produce. It's faster. And I mean, and it's more profitable, right? So it's an insane answer. And it reminds me of the story by another book, actually, it's fabulous, called The $6,000 Egg. And the premise of the $6,000 egg is very similar, right? And it was kind of written around the same time, strangely. But the $6,000 egg is a guy who used to take his business partners and his family friends and stuff for lunch at a restaurant. And they wanted to try having a fried egg on a burger. And they just wouldn't do it, right?
My son's favorite.
And, of course, they start asking, well, why can't you do it? Do you have eggs? And they're like, oh, yeah, we have eggs. And they're like, well, why can't we? And this whole thing kind of just goes on. But then, of course, it escalates, right? And then it's like the manager's there and the manager won't give them eggs. And I mean, the store is in the parking lot of a grocery store. So if they're running out of eggs, they could have just walked over and bought some more friggin' eggs, right? And so anyways, the guy ends up not going there ever again. He won't take his people there, and he just calculates in the first year it cost them $6,000 of revenue by not giving this guy one fried egg on a burger.
For an egg that's worth pennies. I'm reminded of a couple of stories too, where one of them was a friend of mine that was the same thing at a restaurant, and just felt like having a root beer float, and sure enough, on the drink menu, they have root beer.
Right.
On their dessert menu, they have vanilla ice cream. I'd love a root beer float. Yep. Well, we don't offer a root beer float. Look, the two ingredients right here, and it's not hard. But
you don't have to be a chef to make root beer float.
They said no. But one of my favorite ones was a consultant I was working with, and this guy, he worked 11 months out of the year, and the 12th month he spent on Australia surfing. So he just and his office was in Malibu, but he traveled so much he didn't get to surf there, so he had to go to Australia to surf. Well, he was on, and I'll name him, United Airlines. So he's on the airline. This guy has been working day after day. He had to get up, do this presentation, get on the plane. He's flying to the next direction, and he goes, "There's like 12 people on this plane."
Right.
And he goes, he hadn't eaten all day, and so the attendants had fresh fruit, so they're handing out things. Right. So he gets a banana, and he says, "Hey, I haven't eaten all day. I've been traveling. Could I get a second banana?"
Right.
And she said, "No."
You have to buy another seat to get another banana.
He's no. Can I? No. Well, why won't you give me a second banana? She said, "Because next time you'll want the same thing again." And he said, "What do you mean the next time I fly?"
Yeah, the next time I'm on Delta.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. So he they lost a lot of business just because of what? A 12-cent banana?
Yeah, if that. I don't even know what bananas cost when you buy them in that massive amount of bulk.
I can't imagine.
Probably next to nothing.
Bananas are like anyway, but
it probably costs them more in staff hours to order the bananas than the bananas actually cost.
Yeah, it's all storage, right? So this
I know.
So saying
it is absolutely insane the things that these companies are doing. They're insane. Right. Insane. Let me ask you if you've had this experience, okay? Since COVID started originally, right? 14 months ago or something? Yeah. People had to work from home, right? At a lot of these organizations. So they may be, lower staffed or, whatever the factor may be. So they have said, sorry, wait times may increase due to COVID, right?
Right.
Now they've had 14 months to figure it out, right? 14 months to sort out their support people.
That's right.
How come 14 months later, we're still getting the same excuse? I'll tell you why. It's because it's cheaper to have less people and they have something to blame it on, so they don't give a crap. Because they don't care about customer experience. Mm-hmm. They just see it as a line on their a line in their accounting that is a red number because it costs money, and they say, we need to make this number lower, and now we have an excuse to make this number lower instead of what they should be doing, which is, how can I make the best possible experience so that our customers will spend more money with us, stay customers longer, use other services we have, tell their friends about how wonderful we are, and all of those things that come along with good customer experience. And it's just a short-sighted view. It's how can I grab as much value and extract it from the public as I can, rather than how can I generate the most wonderful experience so that I can build the biggest business and help more people.
That's right. Hey, I'm just showing we are interviewing Matt Rouse, author of several books, including Start Saying Yes. And we've highlighted that in the carousel there. I encourage you to click on his book and take a preview there as well. it is amazing how many times we say no. And is it cultural? Is it some sort of conditioning? Is it something that we get we have to live with as kids? We're always told no, and then we just want to carry that on into adulthood and enforce these rules on people.
Well, I think what happens is, as you know, a business or a marketplace ages, you sort of get this sort of gatekeeper mentality in the organizations.
Mm,
Um, and where it's okay, we have to set rules and boundaries, and every time something comes up, we have to build some kind of protection against whatever happened. Just like the lady who owned the boutique and somebody spilled coffee on something once, so she puts up a sign that says no drinks, and then no
right,
food also because she's worried somebody might bring a french fry in or something, right?
right.
In organizations, that builds up over time, and you end up with this entire culture of how can we protect our income, our money, our
Mhm.
everything, our stock, our inventory, rather than how can I ensure that the customer is having the best possible experience.
Yeah. I was thinking about the no photos too. I was down in New Orleans with my son last December, and so we're cruising through the French Quarter, and I forget the name of the voodoo shop that we went into, but fascinating place. And boy, I tell you, this big sign coming in, no photos.
Right.
And I'm sure that people are more interested, I suppose, in maybe taking pictures than buying their stuff. But I think you mentioned in the book about what if they actually set up a photo op
Right.
and maybe have their website or something so that it was easy for people.
Right. So what if, let's say you had something like that, like a hat store is a good example,
Mm,
right? So you've got hundreds of crazy hats in your store, right? And people walk around trying them on, taking pictures. What if you have a background that has all the hats set up on racks already and has a background on it and has your domain name on it where people can come and buy your hats online,
right.
and it's set up there for people to take photos, right? Or if you have a business like the Voodoo store, right?
Sure.
And fun side note, my old web design business before we merged into this company was called Oregon Voodoo Inc. Because it was like voodoo, right? Our marketing magic.
Oh
So
yeah,
anyway,
yeah, yeah. And what would Oregon voodoo look like?
so like
Very
those,
organic.
I always remember when you go to like a tourist place or the pumpkin patch or something, right? They have those signs
Mhm.
painted with the holes cut out and you stick your face
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
right? And
Oh yeah.
everybody goes outside and takes a photo. You could do that in your store. No one's
Sure.
stopping you, right? You could have it in front of your store. You stick your A-frame sign out. You could always stick one of those out if it's, not against the bylaws or something. Lots of ways you
We
could do that.
live and die on the digital right now, and reviews are so important. And I can see where uh, if you create this opportunity, so you go into that voodoo store or that art gallery or whatever
Mhm.
it is, and you create that opportunity. Maybe you've got I can imagine with the art gallery putting up a frame, and it's got and
Right.
it's got the website or whatever it is that's important. And then I go in there and I get my picture taken, and I put a sign up there that says, please take a picture of yourself, and would you leave us a review? Because there's
Yeah,
this
or tag our store.
there's some sort of and especially with the reviews, because you create some sort of a obligation, right? Oh, they're giving me this
Right.
opportunity to make this photo, I should give them something in review. Oh, it doesn't even cost anything,
Right.
right?
It's the reciprocity
And then
principle.
a reciprocity principle. I love having smart people around. I love that. Let me say that again. Reciprocity principle. Okay, there we go.
So the reciprocity principle was actually originally came from a study, and the study is super interesting, so it's worth mentioning. So what they did is they had a person who goes in and they have like a clipboard and they have to rate a bunch of artwork, and they have another person who goes in to rate the artwork with them, except that person is in on the study. Okay, person number 2. So person number 1 goes in, rates all the artwork, yada yada yada, and then the other person who's in there with them asks them if they want to buy some tickets to a raffle for their kids' school, and uh, then they basically track how many times, they have different people go through it and how many times they purchase that. And then in the
Right.
second example of the study, they had the person go in and had them leave for a minute and bring back 2 sodas and
Mhm.
give the other person one of the sodas, and then track how many times they would buy the tickets. And they did another version, right? Like, because you have the control, that's the experiment. And then the second version is where they went in and just bought a soda for themselves. And when the
Mhm.
person went and bought a soda and gave the other person a soda, they were 50% more likely to buy the raffle tickets.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
various versions of that have been, various
Sure.
different kinds of studies have been done, and the result is always the same. So if you give someone something first, even if it's a non-tangible, like, use this frame to send a photo to your friends or something
Mhm.
like that,
Yeah.
uh, because you're giving them something, they are 50% more likely to purchase something from you.
I love it. It's so easy to do, and I realize that retail floor space is valuable, and
It
every
is.
manager knows exactly how much revenue they're generating on each square footage. But to set up a little area, because we know this is what people are doing. We
Right.
know people are taking selfies, that they want to let their friends and family and everybody know that they're having this great time, that they're in this
That's right.
resort spot.
I'm
Meanwhile,
going to
you're
take one
stuck in
right
your kitchen.
now while we're here. There we go.
There we go. Yeah. And would you leave me a review?
I will. I'll put it on your Amazon Live account if they have reviews
There we
for it. I
go.
don't know.
Isn't
I'm
that
sure
great?
they do.
This is the thing. We know people are going to do it, and so instead of arching your back and pushing against them, why not
That's right.
why not welcome them
Grr.
in
Don't take
and give them the
photos
opportunity?
and get
Yeah,
off my
exactly.
lawn, you millennials. I mean,
That's right. There
millennials.
was a
Millennials are like 25 to 40 now, and people still treat them on the internet like they're teenagers. Like,
Oh, I know. Yeah. Yeah.
it's seriously annoying. Like, you see those posts, like a company will put out a post or something, and it'll be like, you know, uh, I may not know how to play Fortnite, but I can drive a stick shift and dial a rotary phone, so I
Yeah,
think I'm
and write in
okay.
cursive.
Yeah, and write in cursive, and you're like, or they're like, oh, but I can't use TikTok or something, and you're like, TikTok is like the easiest thing in the world. You install it on your phone and videos play. Like,
I know.
that's the easiest thing I've ever seen. And people are like wearing it like it's a badge of old person honor. And
Oh
I'm
my
not
God.
a millennial. I mean, I'm almost 50, right? And you don't see me saying that kind of stuff. Like these these are the folks that are shopping at your businesses, buying houses and cars and have careers and curing your diseases. Like
Yeah.
these are the people you should be selling to, not the
This
people you should be isolating from your brand, right?
this reciprocity principle is very interesting. And so another one of the studies, and this is it comes out to when people make a commitment, they make a verbal
Mhm.
commitment. And so there's restaurants. Restaurants make money on turning over tables and not having vacant tables.
Right.
And so there's a particular restaurant in New York City in Manhattan, and of course, vacant tables are worth a lot of money. They want, they're costing them a lot of money.
Right.
So they make reservations, and then people would not show, and then they've got this empty table for a period of time, and trying to fill it. So what they would do is then they said, "Hey, if you can't make your reservation, Matt, please give us a call." And you're like, "Yeah, okay, fine," and you hang up, right? So you got your reservation, 8 o'clock. You're going to be there. Something happens, you decide, we don't want to go there, and you don't call them up. 8 o'clock comes, your table's vacant, and it sits there while they try to figure out, what's going to happen. So to combat that, to change the behavior, what they did, and it was so simple. They said, "Oh, Mr. Rouse, thank you for your reservation. We look forward to seeing you at 8 p.m. tonight. If you are unable to make your reservation, Mr. Rouse, will you please give us a call?"
Right. And you have to say yes.
Right? It's like, it's your turn now. What are you going to
That's right.
say? No, no
Say
way.
yes. Also, if you're going to make a reservation, don't stand
So
up
there,
your reservations, people. Restaurants
well, and
need your
there,
money.
so their no show rate went down, and when the people couldn't call, the rate of calls to say, "Hey, we're not going to be able to make it," went up, so they could use that table.
Right. You know
Such
what?
a small thing, but it made them a ton of money.
You know what? An excellent way, and I don't know if this has been tested or not, but if you said, well, Mr. Smith, we have your reservation. We'll see you at 8 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and put a sign on there that says reserved at 8 p.m. for Mr. Smith, the Smith family, right?
Yeah.
Because now you definitely don't want to not show up because your name's on it.
Right.
And if there's anything that people fear in the world, it's embarrassment, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And people's brains can't tell the difference between actual harm and embarrassment. So that's why embarrassment is such a powerful, powerful tool for people. And it's a way to help yourself get things done. I mean, you don't want to abuse, the powers of psychological influence,
Right.
but you also don't want to ignore them. And
Right. You're not here to manipulate people, but you want to
let's talk
understand
about that, right? There's a fine line between manipulating people and helping people get the solutions that they need to the problems that they have, right?
Yeah.
And it's a line that may be different for different people. And this is why you get those studies like, who do people trust, and marketers is like 3% or something, right? Like it's lower than like murderers and crazy stuff like that. But that's because there's so much crap marketing that goes out, right? There's so much spamming and snake oil salespeople and just all this garbage that happens in the world for people trying to make a quick buck, instead of just using their ability and their talents and their efforts to actually help people.
Right.
And that's a big difference, I think.
Sometimes you get these scam calls and stuff. And I tell you what, those guys are professionals. If they could only turn that and use it for something legal,
okay,
they'd make a ton of money.
It's so bad. You know what I did see though, and this is a little sort of off topic, but I was on YouTube, and YouTube's referral engine for like what it's going to show you the next video of to keep your attention.
That's right.
It's brilliant. I don't know how anyone can open up YouTube and get anything done with the rest of their life, because you just keep burying into holes. But anyways, one day I was going down a rabbit hole on YouTube, and I found this video of somebody who would take scam callers and then basically he has them he tries to get them to connect to his computer, if they're like, oh, well, we can help fix your PC or whatever it is, Mr. Jones, and then he kind of reverse engineers it and hacks them while he has them on the phone. Right. And hearing the voice of the scammers being scammed is brilliant. I mean, I love it. Yeah. I almost feel a little bit bad for them just because of how badly they get scammed, because he like sends them like encryption viruses and stuff, encrypts all their files so they can't scam other people, just destroys their business. Oh
my word.
Their scamming business. But it's brilliant, and so that's kind of a side note, but to get back to it for a second though.
Yeah. And we did promise that we would tell people what the popsicle hotline is. So
that's right. And we'll get there in a minute.
Keep going.
Because there is a thing, it's called an open-ended loop. And an open-ended loop is something that your brain subconsciously makes a note of, right? And that's why every show ends in a cliffhanger.
Okay.
Because they want you to have an open-ended loop in your brain that needs to be closed, right? So find out if Jim will actually stop the bad guy next week.
That's right.
Right? So when we say, if we tease it and we say, oh, you know what, you're going to want to know what the popsicle hotline is, but first we're going to talk about this. Your brain is making a note. It's going, what is the popsicle hotline? Why do I need to know about the popsicle hotline? Right. And your subconscious is kind of worrying away. And then
Okay.
it encourages you to keep paying attention because you want to know what the popsicle hotline is, right?
Right.
And so it's kind of another one of those psychological principles that you kind of want to use it for good. You don't want to use your powers for evil, right? So
That's right.
just
Yeah.
like in the superhero shows. Find out next week if Superman is faster than a train.
That's right. And with great power comes great responsibility.
It does. So just talking about positive customer experiences is one thing,
Right.
but there's also saying yes to positive business growth experiences and things for yourself and your own business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about not having the word no on your homepage or in your front window of your store, right? What you want to do is say yes to things that are going to help others and help your own business get some exposure and stuff like that. And this is a difficult bridge to cross for some people in some industries. And kind of the idea where this comes from is a guy in the SEO marketing world, and he every time somebody asked him if he would be speak at their conference, give a presentation at the Chamber of Commerce, or whatever it was, all of these things, as long as he was able to make time to do it, he would do it.
Nice.
And what happened was, as he started to do these things to help other people and giving the presentations and stuff, he realized that he was meeting people, and those people that he met along the way were the ones that really helped his business go to the next level. Right? So, the guy he met on the plane who introduced him to someone who then introduced him to someone else who ended up funding the growth of their company. Or, the person who introduced them to someone who helped them learn something that they realized, hey, we need to put this into our software program, or, all these things that other people look at and say, man, is that guy lucky? He generated that luck, right? They call it generating serendipity. By doing the things that will help other people, you inadvertently are helping yourself and your business. So you have to say yes to those things. And it can be tough, right? It is very tough, especially in some industries, videography, photography being one of the biggest ones. Same with artists, is the don't do anything for free, don't do anything for exposure mentality, right? They call it exposure bucks. They go,
now accepting,
I want you to do this for exposure, and you're like, I'm going to pay my rent with those 800 exposure bucks,
Right.
And here's the difference, okay? You should do something for exposure bucks if the person asking you actually has distribution, meaning they either have an audience or they have someone who's going to see it, right? So let's say, for example, you asked me to come on this show, and your show was only going to broadcast to your 5 employees at your business or something like that. Maybe I'd probably still do it, but most people, that's not enough distribution.
You're a good friend,
but you're doing it on Amazon Live Video, right? You've got distribution, you've got people. I would have to be an idiot to not do this, even though it's free, right? So if you have to do some work, you got to give a presentation, you got to snap a few photos, whatever it is, as long as there is not an opportunity cost, then you should do that thing. And opportunity cost is, what other thing could you be doing to move your business forward that it's taking away from?
Exactly. What are you sacrificing? Because obviously every minute of every day is being used for something. We don't have any unused minutes we can accumulate. It's so what are you not doing to be on this show? And I know, as you mentioned, you have a lot of things going on. So there's maybe some video editing or some phone calls or something that you're not making. So those are opportunity costs. So yeah, I do appreciate. I
That's right.
appreciate that.
I
And
appreciate you having me on. And you know what? It's the same thing happened with Business Builder Throwdown, right? Holly and
well,
I
I was
started
going to
doing this
mention that.
show,
I was going to
right?
mention that.
Well, Holly and I started doing the show, and then Holly comes to you and she says, "Hey, Scott, I know you don't really know me, and you don't know this other guy, but we started a live show. Do you want to come be the announcer and
Yeah.
moderator of our live show? And it pays nothing."
Well, and
Right.
it's funny because I was thinking about the throwdown. So, and that is a live show that we do every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific, and it's a very entertaining show. There's great education and tips that come through that, and so I'm glad to be a part of it. But it did kind of come out of the blue. I had barely known Holly Jean Jackson. I didn't know you. She says, "You want to do this?" And I said, "Yes." It would have been much easier to say no.
Right.
And my life, I will admit that my life would have been diminished by not accepting that unknown.
Right. And the unknown is the difficult part to get over.
Yeah.
And it's not just about a marketing business, right? It's
Mm,
it's the doing the presentation at the Chamber of Commerce for your plumbing company, or it's doing that presentation in the office, or volunteering to help run with the charity drive, or doing community walks with a group for people you don't know, right? It's all these things that inevitably build
mm,
your network. And as we know, the more people in the network, the more powerful the network.
that's right.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
all about growth. And I know you know about networking. We don't have to. You
I
don't have to.
do, and people can read about networking. I do have a book in the carousel, motivational listener. But let me just throw this back up because we are talking with Matt Rouse in his book. Start saying yes. It is in the carousel. Click on it. Take a preview of what's going on there, and it is an easy read, um, but it's not simple to apply, I would say. It's
Right.
it's so much easier to say no than it is to say yes.
Right.
And just to phrase things as you were talking about at the very beginning. No shirt, no shoes, no service, no dogs, no photos, no food, no drinks.
Right.
No, 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 no.
No,
Instead
no,
of
no, no
phrasing
is
things,
everywhere.
and you were putting things in such a way that maybe used a little bit more words, but it was and in fact, but language is important. And I was listening to this essay years ago, and the guy was talking about the word but, and
Right.
but is one of those little conjunctions that comes in, and everything that I've said up to that point is negated by what follows after the word but. And so he was advocating that we completely eliminate the use of the word but and replace it with the word and. And he goes, he actually said, he goes, um, we should stop using the word but and replace it with the word and. Let's see, it's a little awkward and it's more positive.
Right. It's true.
And
And
so,
and there's a
yeah.
lot of negative connotation in the world right now, right? You got the whole cancel culture and
Mhm.
things that go along with that. People are immediately easy to jump on anything on social media to say something negative about it, even if you're trying to do something positive. And I think, words matter. It's important to be careful with your words, but it's also important to not let those kind of bad actors uh, discourage you from doing the important
Mm.
work that you have to do.
Right. Yeah. It was Herb Brooks, who was the U.S. hockey coach for the 1980 gold medal hockey team. And he said that the quote was something like, "We need to make preparations for the unseen opportunities that are coming up." And I see that when we're saying yes, is that you're making preparation for those unseen opportunities. And this is what
It
happens
is.
when I said yes to the Business Builder Throwdown and going live with you guys on that program every week, which is a commitment, right? I made a commitment, and so I had to follow through on that. But things are much better because of that, and we're having fun. We have a good time. We meet new people. We have interesting topics, and we're making a difference. So I like that we say yes. So before we get too far, because we're about 45 minutes into this, and we have promised that we would tell people what the popsicle hotline is, because I think this is a good place where we're talking about how do
Sure.
you phrase things instead of saying no, how do you make some sort of experience for somebody that's memorable? And we're not talking about
Right.
spending money or
So,
significant amounts of.
so there's a book by Jay Bear, a marketing book, and
Mhm.
it's called Talk Triggers. And that's a great one if you're in the marketing world. And this was an example that I borrowed from the research from his book. Um, and the popsicle hotline is for this hotel in Southern California that has more 5-star reviews than any other hotel in California, at least at the time of writing, anyway.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
if you look at some of the most expensive hotels in the entire world, and this outranks them by a mile, right?
Mm.
And it is kind of a family friendly, family priced hotel. But the reason that they have so many positive reviews is almost exclusively because of the popsicle hotline. So when
Okay.
your family, the kids in the family are down at the pool at the hotel, there's a
Yeah.
red telephone with a label underneath it that says popsicle hotline. And you pick up the phone and somebody answers on the other end and says popsicle hotline. And you say, I'd like 3 grape popsicles and 2 strawberry popsicles. And they say, okay, we'll deliver them right away. And you hang up the phone. And then somebody in a suit with the cloth over their arm and the silver platter
Oh my
and the
God.
cloche on top comes out poolside and opens it up and delivers the popsicles that you ordered from the popsicle hotline. You can order as many popsicles as you want year round, absolutely free. Right?
Yeah.
If you want 20 popsicles, they'll bring you 20 popsicles. Right? Silver on delivered on a silver tray poolside every single day. And the reason that this works is that it's 100% out of the ordinary. No other
Sure.
hotel does it, right?
Right.
It's interesting, right? It's the, as
Mhm.
Seth Godin calls, the purple cow, right? Which is the idea that if you saw a field of cows, nobody cares, but if you saw a purple one, you'd pull over and take a picture of it, right?
There you go.
So
Yeah.
it's a purple cow, right?
Mm.
And it's a positive service.
Yep.
It's repeatable, right? And yeah, it's a talk trigger. It's something that triggers people to have conversations about your business in a positive
Mhm.
way. So
it's a beautiful story, and I love the thought. And I would think, obviously the popsicles are an inconsequential cost, right? I
right,
mean, probably costs more to refrigerate them than to buy them, but
yeah,
to have those popsicles is no cost. And I would believe that getting employees to make the delivery, to be the popsicle person, is probably something that they would look forward to, because I think
right,
back to one of the best jobs that I ever had was delivering flowers for a flower company, for a florist, because you're giving something very nice to somebody that they weren't expecting, that they didn't have to pay for, right?
right,
and and there's something about free stuff. Anything that's free, people just, it's like, are you sure? Can I really take this piece of candy out of this dish?
right,
Right? Instead of the 5 cent, you're checking out of the thing about that restaurant and you're walking out and they got the little chocolate covered mint patties, right?
right,
And they want to charge you a quarter or whatever.
right.
And it's not even for charity, right? They're just like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Why
you
would
want a
you even
mint?
bother to do that? Right? Like you see it at restaurant stuff. You're like, why? Why would you do? Why would you even have that? Like, you
Yeah.
mean after I've checked out and paid my bill, you now want me to reach into my pocket, hopefully have a quarter so I can buy a
Good
chocolate
luck.
that
Good
costs a
luck.
penny, right?
Yeah. Can I use my Venmo?
Right. Like ask someone if they want a chocolate mint, maybe have a checkbox on their bill or have a little card on the table that,
Right?
they
Yeah.
turn a flag and it has like a picture of a chocolate mint on it, and somebody comes by and sees it and drops a handful of chocolate mints on the table.
And so
Because
the people get to just pick up the phone and say, I want a popsicle.
that's right.
And an employee gets to be the hero.
That's
That
right.
employee gets to be the hero.
And can you imagine the impact it would have on you if you
Mm.
were, like a young kid, right? And you get to pick up the phone, right? The red phone of all things, and
Yeah,
somebody listens to you. You tell them what you want, and they bring it to you in a fancy way while you're sitting in the pool. That is probably one of the greatest kind of childhood experiences that you're going to remember, right? And it's also brilliant marketing. It's brilliant
Mhm.
service.
Yep.
It's just exceptional all around. And you know
You
what?
know
It's 100% the opposite of saying, I'm not going to put a fried egg on your burger, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And there's another one of those photo ops, right?
Right.
Where I want to get my picture taken with this person dressed up in the livery with the towel and the silver dish and my popsicle.
That's
And
right. As soon as that person's coming out, you know that mom and dad are grabbing their phone.
yeah,
They're getting ready to take that photo and they're
you
going
get
to
a snap,
share it.
you get a Snapchat filter, and people swipe over to get the popsicle hotline
That's
little
right.
graphic, right?
I mean, you want to be creating experiences,
Mm.
and I mean, there's varying degrees of experiences, and there's a good example of someone trying to create an experience, but it's not done the right way. And it was a
Mhm.
hotel in Hong Kong, and what they did is they had in one of the fancier rooms in the hotel, they had a cage in the room that had a koala bear in it.
Okay.
Now, yeah, people took photos of it and stuff, but for one, I mean, the animal cruelty people went off the charts on it.
Sure.
But also, like, you can't give everybody a koala bear in their room, right? So it's not cost effective, it's
Right.
not
It's not scalable.
repeatable, it's
Right.
not
Yeah.
scalable, right?
Yeah.
That's the opposite, right?
Mhm.
So there's this bar in Montana, this tavern in the middle of nowhere, and I think it was Maxim magazine years ago had said that this is one of the 50 bars in the world that are worth flying to just to go to that bar.
Okay.
And it is nothing special. It is a kind of dive bar in the middle of
Mhm.
nowhere in Montana. Not that Montana's the middle of nowhere, but I mean, I've been there, so I know. And
Sure.
this
Yeah.
place is not high traffic, right?
And you where you live in Nova Scotia, you understand what nowhere
Yeah,
is. So
that's right. I live in the middle of nowhere right now. So the funny thing is that at this bar at I think it's 9:30 p.m. every night, the lights go on outside the windows of the bar around a swimming pool that's behind it, and they have a live mermaid show. And girls dressed as mermaids swim around the pool to music and stuff, and it happens every night.
Sure.
That's the only thing different about this bar, but it's
Yeah.
repeatable. Everybody takes photos of it. Everybody talks about it, right?
Sure.
And that's how this bar in quote the middle of nowhere in
Mhm.
Montana got on the list of the 50 best bars in the world because they have this amazing show that goes on that everybody talks about.
Right.
And obviously, I understand that everybody's business is not going to, like, you're a plumber, you're not going to have a mermaid show, but
Mhm.
you could be a
Right.
plumber and have a little card that goes on the back of the toilet with a cartoon picture of you holding a toilet plunger that
Mhm.
says, "This toilet certified uncloggable by Jim's Plumbing," or whatever, right?
Sure.
And there's
Yeah.
all kinds of ways to have positive customer experiences.
Mhm.
And if you were doing both positive experiences when you get asked to do things, doing favors and stuff for people, helping people out who are in need, plus you're building positive customer experiences in your business, and you're building a customer experience, you're saying, how can I make sure that every step and every contact with every person who touches my business is the best possible experience that it could be?
Mm.
You are going to have a booming, thriving business with so much referral business that you can't even handle it, of people who pay more, demand less, and come back more often. And who
Yeah,
doesn't want that business, right?
I love it. I love it. Yeah, just some simple things that can differentiate you from everyone else. And so a mermaid show, well, that's uh, particular to them. Having the popsicle hotline, that's just a very clever idea for a hotel. I uh, yeah, I just it gets me thinking about what kinds of things people can offer. And I like that you mentioned plumbers because it seems to be that's such a it's it's such a ubiquitous job, right? I mean, there's
Right.
plumbers everywhere, and they're kind of it's very similar. How do you differentiate one from
But
the next?
plumbing has saved more lives in the history of mankind than anything else in the world, even than medicine, right? Getting rid of waste is the
Mm,
most, and getting clean water in the
sure.
two most important things to society, right? And so, I mean, if you're a plumber,
Yeah.
you may seem ubiquitous at the time,
Yeah.
but if there's crap coming out of your toilet, you
Right.
are thank your lucky stars that there's a plumber that you can get
That's
a hold
right.
of,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So,
And you don't want just any plumber. You want the best plumber, right?
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I just it makes me think about the different opportunities that people would have for their business to come up with something that's maybe not directly related to their business, but something that's low cost, but makes people feel treated special. That they're
Right,
not just a number. We talked about some of these businesses where um, as you said, their customer service went down during the pandemic
right,
for no apparent reason other than it was an excuse to save a few bucks and make people stay on hold for longer. Whereas they could have maybe capitalized on this in such a way to make it more. So what I think about is Disneyland. So my grandfather started working at Disneyland about a year before the park opened up as a
right,
gardener, and that's where he retired from in the mid '70s. So as a kid, I grew up going to Disneyland, and in the early days, back when it was the e-ticket ride, right? You had a little
right,
paper ticket, and those popular rides had long lines. And so to control those lines, they set up ropes. And we talk about the Disneyland ropes, right? You just got to go, and it's
right,
back and forth, and pretty soon you get up there. Well, Disney realized that that wasn't the best experience for people going around the ropes, and so they created long lines intentionally. They built them in, but as you're going into Indiana Jones, you're walking through the caves and different things are happening and there's movies playing and so instead of the ride being the 2 minute point at the end of a 45-minute wait, it was that 45-minute wait was part of the experience,
right.
right? So how can we create that so those people that maybe have to wait on hold for their insurance company or something, how can it be? How can that be a Disneyland wait, right? So
There's
this is part of. So actually, it's funny because I was working with a customer on this, and he has it's a rock star singing telegrams,
oh yeah,
and so instead of sending flowers or something, and you would so we talked about when the person is hiring somebody, they're not just getting another singing telegram. They're actually the producer, right? They're the Don
right,
Krishner, right? That's booking talent, right?
right,
You're not hiring a singer, you're booking talent. So you become the booking agent. And so creating that experience so it feels more like I'm not just spending money so Matt can have a fun birthday song. I'm actually the talent agent.
right.
I'm the booking agent. I'm anyway. There's just there's some different ways. So we are talking about your book. Start saying yes, and how to improve these customer experiences. We've got some great stories, but I'm going to highlight another book because um, you've written more. You've written we've got 3 books here in the carousel from you. You may have more books on the shelf. I'm certain you have more books in your brain. But let's talk about flattening the hamster wheel, because I like the concept in here as well. So that it's not going around in circles. What is the idea behind this flattening the hamster wheel?
Well, you can see the in your brain, it's pretty easy to see the picture of the hamster wheel, except putting yourself on it as a business owner instead of a hamster, right? But if you were to break that wheel and flatten it out, kind of like a train track, right, like we have on the book, right, you would go make your business move forward is the idea. And so to stop kind of that grind, that constant grind where you have to keep doing all of the things you're doing to keep the business running, but you spend so much time doing those things that you can't grow it. And what happens is you get in this loop where it's like Groundhog Day, and every day you have more stuff to do than there's time to finish. And the things that are going to grow your business, or, you know, kind of improve your revenue or give you the ability to hire more employees or any of these things, keep getting put off forever. Right.
Yep.
And that cycle is the cycle that means you can't go on vacations. It's the cycle that means you can't stop doing all the things you're doing. It means you can't analyze what you're doing to see what works and what doesn't, because you're worried if you stop doing something, you'll lose business.
Right.
And you also have another problem, which is interesting. I like to call it the dancing bear syndrome. And dancing bear syndrome, I didn't make this one up. And you know what? I've attributed it to a few people over time, but each time I find someone who said it, they say somebody before them said it.
Sure.
So who knows how far this goes back, okay? But the dancing bear syndrome is that you're the dancing bear, right, in your business, and if you stop dancing, the money stops coming in.
Yeah.
Which means you can never go on vacation.
Very true.
You can never leave. You can never sell it, right? There's nothing that you could do. You could never retire, because as soon as you stop dancing, there's no more money, right?
Yeah.
So the idea behind flattening the hamster wheel is to stop grinding, start making an impact on your business, and find simple solutions to solve those problems.
Well, we'll have to have you back to talk about flattening the hamster wheel. And the other book that you have is Crush SEO, and as you said, early on, SEO, search engine optimization, and how do people get
This is a
found?
thick one. This is a reader.
So give us a little preview on that one. And again, Matt, we'll bring you back and we'll talk about these other books. But what's the highlights on Crush SEO?
So this one is about local SEO. It's learn how to market your local business online, which is why it has the little map flags in there. This cover art is by Derek Frost, by the way. It also says,
like that.
It says "Don't panic" on the back of the book, which you may have seen from another guide.
I have seen that. Yes, indeed. Douglas Adams.
Right. There are so many things to local business search optimization that reading a few blog posts and watching a few videos on the internet are not going to get you there. It is something that is multifaceted and complicated, and people think of Google as like one piece of software that decides how stuff comes up when you type in a question or a query, right?
Sure.
But it's actually thousands of pieces of software that all work together, and for every different type of business and type of product and type of search and type of information, there are, in some cases, 10, 20, 30 different varieties of factors that go into that search. But there's thousands of types of information. So you've got, I think at last count, somebody was saying it was in the 60 to 70,000 ranking factor range there. And arguably depends what you call a ranking factor. So somebody, if somebody's going to come on and complain about it, you and I can go argue offline about it. But let's face it, there's way too many for the average business owner to figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
So if you do all the things in this book, you will rank well. That's it.
It
It's
was
also
funny.
300 pages long. Not to
Uh,
discourage anybody, but
there
honestly,
are tips in there, but
yeah,
it's a manual, right? It's a
it's a
manual.
manual.
Yeah.
So
So you're going to flip through it, dog ear some things, go back and kind of update.
right. And this is going to tell you how to rank your business online. This is going to tell you how to have a positive customer experience. And this is going to tell you how to grow your business and move it forward.
All right. So these are fabulous. It's Matt, it's been fun having you on the show. And,
it was great. And I'm excited for our show tomorrow.
We'll come back tomorrow. We'll be live with the Business Builder Throwdown with Matt and Holly Jean Jackson. That's going to be, it's always a good time. And so that is every Thursday. So tune in.
It's optimized for search. So you could just type in Business Builder Throwdown into the internet and you will find us.
That's the way we live now. I there's some regulations around paper phone books. And so occasionally we still get paper phone books with yellow page ads in there. And even if I had kept a copy of that, I would never look for my plumber in the yellow pages, even if that plumber is there or not. I would go, hey, Alexa, show me plumbers near me. Hey, Google. Hey,
well,
Siri.
In rural kind of areas, they still use phone books quite extensively. There are businesses here who don't have online presences at all that still get a lot of word of mouth business. They're in the book, right?
It all depends on your community, but
but you know what's going to happen?
You need to be found online.
Municipal internet, low-level satellite, 5G is going to expand broadband coverage in rural areas, and then everything is going to move online. So if you're in one of those people and you're in one of those areas with a business, it's time to start thinking about getting that on the internet.
They say the two best times to plant a tree are 50 years ago and today. That's right. So the best time to work on your SEO is 10 years ago and today. So get searchable online. Matt, we'll wind this one down. Sure. And but stick around here in the green room. We'll chat after we end the live part. But we have been talking with Matthew Rouse and his books today. We started really focusing on start saying yes and give your customers a great experience. We'll bring him back for Flattening the Hamster Wheel and Crush SEO. Matt, thank you again for being with us here on the broadcast.
Thanks, Scott, for having me on.
We'll see you all soon.